the studio that has the movie is in flux. Therefore, I mean, they've put James Bond on hold, and I don't think we come before him. So we really don't know what. The film is finished. The 3D thing came because they looked at the schedule and said, oh my God, every horror movie is going to be 3D forever for the next few years, and so we should convert it now. That, by the way, may still happen. But Drew shot something very specifically in, a classical mode. Like, he went away from, really in your face and tried to keep things sort of, we were studying John Carpenter and really keep the suspense and make it almost a little old-fashioned. So what we're hoping to do is be the only horror movie when we come out that's not in 3D, so that we can advertise 2D. You'll believe things can move across the screen. Cabin in the Woods, it's painterly. It's going to be, it's going to revolutionize the industry.
Last question about 3D for you guys, which is, do you think that this is just a fad, or do you think it's kind of really changing the way we're going to see movies? It's changing the way maybe that, like, young kids going to the movies are what they expect from film? I mean, is it here to stay, do you think?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
I don't. I really don't. I mean, my guess is that it will continue. The equipment will be there. The technology will get better. It will continue. Not everything will be made in 3D, but a lot will. I have no idea.
I don't think it's a fad. And I do think it is kind of extraordinarily immersive when it works. But everything is always going to be built for a zillion different platforms, and many of them are simply not going to be 3D. So it's going to be there, but it's not going to take over completely. Watch that 3 years from now, my phone will be like,
Joss, a couple of years ago, you made a little thing called Dr. Horrible's Singing in the Wild. You did that for many reasons. You created it at a time when television writers were on strike, and there was a lot of talk about whether or not the internet could be sort of a viable alternative for TV writers as a mode of expression or a business model. Looking back on that now, kind of like, how do you feel about the internet opportunity, and is that like a future mode for you to do more?
Well, gosh, I hope so. I definitely feel like I missed my window a little bit. I was after Dr. Horrible, I sort of kind of was like waiting for everybody else to show up at the party. I was like, okay, now we're going to get this all together. We're going to make a ton of internet stuff. It's going to be really interesting. Dr. Horrible made money, and it made money for me, but I was in the studio, but also for the writers, the actors, all of whom were profit participants. So it really worked as a model by which people can actually go ahead and make a profit on the internet. People always say, well, there's no money there at all. There's less. Obviously, there's much less than can be had in movies and TV, but it can be done. And I was proud of that model because, it benefited many of the artists who worked on it. And me as a studio, it benefited more. So that was great. But then I really did think, well, people will see this and want to get in on it. But the studios, their views of how it would work were extraordinarily old-fashioned, and I kind of sat on my hands. We were trying, obviously, to, create, say, a sequel to Dr. Horrible. Part of the other problem was that we all had jobs. That was also my fault. I was just at the cusp of sort of getting something, and I don't even know, this isn't something I've ever mentioned at all in public, but I started to work on an internet piece with Warren Ellis called Wastelanders that I was going to direct. And then Warren Ellis saw that I was doing the Avengers and said, okay, I'll just wait then. So, there is a bunch of stuff that I would love to do. I think there is a way to make it work, but you have to be able, and I'm in this position, to lower your expectations and to work in a modular fashion where you don't put everything on the table at once. You just keep building where it builds and scaling back where it doesn't.
JJ, does this interest you at all? Like creating something like,
yes,
digital?
Very much so. In fact, there are a couple of things we're working on right now at Bad Robot that I think will be, sort of following Joss's lead on that. To me, the technology that exists it's remarkable what you can do. We shot a commercial for like a Star Trek DVD, literally using the camera that I used to film my kids' soccer games. Like the fact the Canon 5D Mark II, like the fact that you can use that camera and it looks the way it does, it has the lenses that you can get, and that you can go and rent one, you can go and buy one. Someone has one. It's like you can actually make movies now. And so for me, doing something like Star Trek, clearly you need the resources of a studio, and also they own Star Trek. But when you have an idea for something and you've got friends, like I think my guess is that what Joss realized was he's working with the people he would hire at the studio. He knows them. They are friends. Why not ask them if they want to do this? They can be owners in this thing. They can, have put their heart and soul into it, and it's a shorter, typically, investment of time. So to me, it's a hugely exciting thing. And there's actually someone here, we haven't sort of signed all the documents yet, but there's someone who has a table here on the floor who's got a series of characters. We're actually working with her to create one of these things now that will hopefully be out online sooner than later.
Joss, with all that said, is there a Dr. Horrible sequel in the works, or is that just a question of time availability of your talent?
Works is a strong word. It's in turnaround. At the studio of me. It's me and Jed and Marissa and Zach going, man, I've written a couple songs. We got to get together. Yeah, we totally got to do that. It's going really well. If we had the time, we really do feel like we know what the movie is, and we really want to do it, and we want to do it on our terms, but our terms seem to be interminable.
You guys have your own production companies, and we know their names very well. Bad Robot, Mutant Enemy.
They should fight.
Yeah, they should. Who would win?
Or kiss.
In the new media future, could these be like channels like on the internet? Like, will there be sort of like a Bad Robot channel like in the future that is programmed with material, or a Mutant Enemy channel that's programmed with material?
I think for me the problem with a channel is to actually keep up with the amount of material that you need. The one day, which would be day 2, and someone goes there and like, oh, nothing new. It's like you're over. So in theory it's great. I would rather do a Bad Robot button that appears on various places on the internet, and when there's something new, you click on it and then you go there.
I always dream of the channel. I always go, oh, and I have all these ideas. But then I realize, but then I have to write them. And yeah, day 2, you're like, it's coming any minute now. Stay tuned. You'd have to basically build your entire product like long before you showed anything. And but I think the idea of a channel, you just evolved it into a button. It's changing. It's gonna be something very different. I do think if I saw something that said Bad Robot, I would push that button or hit that widget or touch that 3D holographic knob, whatever the hell you're supposed to do to get to it. I would kiss that robot.
In about 10 minutes, a little less, we're going to open it up to questions. So where's the microphone? Anyway, just start lining up. I know you have a lot of questions. Joss, you just got done. Dollhouse has come to an end, unfortunately.
What?
And you produced Dollhouse after being away from television for a while. Now that Dollhouse is over, how are you feeling about television? Kind of like, what lessons have you learned about sort of what television wants and supports for that?
I don't know why this question sounds a little bit like, well, are you proud of what you did? Maybe you should sit in the corner and think about it. That might just be me projecting. It must have been the wrong place. It must have been the wrong time. I really did, I definitely was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And we, I think, both benefited from the great square hole of television, the WB, where they were just interested in people like us who had a story we knew how to tell, and they let us do that. That is very rare. It doesn't exist anymore, literally. The